Welcome to the Listen and Sleep channel. Make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes. Allow your breathing to become slow and deep. Today, we journey to ancient India, to the source of one of the greatest spiritual conversations in human history. Let the words flow through your consciousness like warm wind through leaves. No need to memorize. No need to analyze. Simply listen and allow wisdom to touch your heart. Somewhere at the dawn of time, when the world was young and truths rang clear as morning bells in silence, a conversation took place that changed the understanding of life for millions of souls. This conversation happened not in a temple, not in a sage's secluded cave, but on a battlefield, amid the thunder of chariots and clashing of swords. Imagine a boundless plain beneath the pre-dawn sky. Mist spreads across the earth, gently wrapping hills and valleys. The air is cool and fresh, filled with the scent of grass mixed with the smell of leather harnesses and metal. This place is called Kurukshetra, sacred ground, which means the field of righteousness. Here, on this ancient plain, two vast armies have gathered. On one side stand 100 brothers, descendants of a blind king, greedy for power, ready for any injustice for the sake of the throne. On the other side are 5 brothers, exiled from their homeland through cunning and deception, but who have preserved truth in their hearts. Between these armies lies not merely a dispute over inheritance. This is the eternal battle between light and darkness, between justice and greed, between duty and desire. And here, in the very center of this field, between two armies ready for battle, stands a chariot. In it are 2 men. One of them, Arjuna, is the greatest archer of his time, a warrior whose name struck fear into the hearts of enemies. The other is his charioteer, who appears to be a simple servant, but is actually the embodiment of divinity itself. His name is Krishna. Arjuna asks Krishna to drive the chariot closer to the enemy formation. He wants to see those he must fight. And when the chariot stops between the armies, Arjuna peers into the ranks of enemies, and suddenly his heart contracts with horror. There, in armor and with weapons in hand, stand not merely enemies. There stand his relatives, teachers, childhood friends. There is gray-haired Bhishma, the grandfather who taught him to hold a bow. There is Drona, the mentor under whose guidance he learned the art of war. There are cousins with whom he played as a child. All of them are on the other side of the battlefield, and tomorrow at dawn he must raise weapons against them. Arjuna's hands begin to tremble. The famous bow Gandiva, which had never known defeat, suddenly becomes unbearably heavy. His knees buckle, his mouth goes dry, his heart pounds like a caged bird. What kind of victory would be won at the price of relatives' blood? What kind of kingdom would be built on the bones of beloved people? Slowly, like an old man, Arjuna sinks to the bottom of the chariot. The bow slips from his weakened fingers. He looks at Krishna with tear-filled eyes and says, "I cannot. I will not fight. Better to live on than rule a kingdom watered with teachers' blood." At this moment begins what will become the most important conversation in the history of spirituality. Krishna looks at his friend with infinite tenderness. In his eyes is understanding of all the depth of human pain, all the complexity of choice between duty and compassion. And he begins to speak quietly, gently, like a mother calming a frightened child. Time seems to stop. The armies freeze in anticipation. The wind stills. Even the birds stop singing. And in this absolute silence sound words that will touch the heart of everyone who has ever stood before a difficult choice, who has ever doubted the rightness of their actions, who has ever asked how to live correctly in a world full of contradictions. Krishna begins with the simplest and deepest simultaneously. He speaks of the nature of the soul. Imagine, he whispers to Arjuna, that your body is clothing worn by the soul. When clothing wears out, we change it for new. So too, the soul changes bodies. What you consider death is actually just changing clothes. The soul is neither born nor does it die. It cannot be cut by swords, burned by fire, wetted by water, or dried by wind. It is eternal, unchanging, unshakable, as a drop of water eventually returns to the ocean. So every soul is a particle of infinite spirit. But these words still remain just words for Arjuna. His heart still tears with pain. He still sees before him the faces of relatives and cannot understand how he can raise a hand against them, even knowing about the immortality of the soul. And then Krishna moves to another point. He speaks of duty. Every person has their own nature, their own role in the great game of life. Arjuna was born a warrior. This is not accident, not an error of fate. This is his path. And by refusing this path out of false compassion, he will not become a saint. He will simply run away from himself. Better to perform one's own duty, even imperfectly, than another's duty, even brilliantly. Better to die in one's own calling than to live in another's. This is not cruelty. This is understanding of the deep order of things, where everyone plays their role in the symphony of being. Listening to these words, feel how they touch your life too. Perhaps you too know moments when the heart is torn between what you want to do and what you need to do. Between the desire to avoid pain and the necessity to move forward. Between compassion for others and faithfulness to yourself. Arjuna listens, but doubts have not completely cleared. And then Krishna reveals to him a secret that will change not only the outcome of this battle, but the understanding of how one should live at all. The secret is, Krishna says, to act without attachment to the results of your actions. Perform your duty, but do not consider yourself the creator of results. Shoot the bow, but do not think about whether you will hit the target. Sow the seed, but do not demand harvest from the earth. This seems impossible. How can one act without thinking about the result? Are we not acting precisely for the sake of results? But Krishna explains patiently, like an older brother to a younger one. Attachment to results is the source of all suffering. When we get what we want, we fear losing it. When we do not get it, we suffer from disappointment. But there is another way to live. One can act like an actor on stage, completely giving oneself to the role, but remembering that it is still a play. One can work like a gardener, lovingly caring for plants, but not demanding gratitude from them. One can love like the sun, shining equally for all, expecting nothing in return. Such a way of life is called karma yoga, union with the divine through action. This is not inaction, not indifference. On the contrary, this is action filled with even greater energy because it is free from fear of failure and greed for success. Imagine a river flowing to the sea. It does not hurry, does not worry whether it will reach its destination. It simply flows, going around stones, nourishing plants and animals along the way, reflecting the sky in its waters. So should a person flow through life naturally, easily, bringing benefit to everything encountered on the path. Arjuna begins to understand. A new light appears in his eyes. But Krishna does not stop. He tells how this wisdom was passed from generation to generation, from teacher to student, as ancient knowledge. He speaks of how he himself has come to this world many times to restore the balance between good and evil, to remind people of forgotten truths. Time in this world flows in cycles, like seasons. There are periods of spiritual dawn when people live in harmony with higher principles. There are times of decline when truth is forgotten and injustice triumphs. And then the divine takes human form to guide the world back to light. But the most important thing Krishna reveals is that every action can become a sacred act. When you prepare food, thinking of whom you will feed. When you work, remembering the benefit for others. When you even breathe, conscious of the gift of life, all this becomes prayer, an offering to the highest. There is an ancient custom of offering food to the divine before eating. But this is not just ritual. This is a way to remember that everything in this world is a gift, that we are not owners, but only temporary keepers. When you relate to life this way, every day becomes a celebration of gratitude. Arjuna listens and feels how the heaviness gradually leaves his heart. He begins to see the situation from a new angle. Yes, he must fight. But he will fight not from hatred, not from thirst for power. He will perform his duty like a priest performs ritual, with full attention, but without attachment to personal gain. And then Krishna moves to the next lesson. He explains the paradox of renunciation. Many think that spiritual life requires withdrawal from the world, to a cave, to a monastery, to the forest. But true renunciation is not in external rejection of things, but in inner liberation from attachment to them. One can live in a luxurious palace and be inwardly free. One can possess wealth and not be greedy. One can have a family and not be possessive. Everything depends on attitude. When you understand that nothing in this world belongs to you forever, that everything is a temporary gift, then you can use everything, but not be attached to anything. This is like playing a role in a performance. An actor can completely immerse in the image of a king or beggar, rejoice and suffer with his character. But when the performance ends, he calmly removes the costume and goes home. So too, a wise person plays their role in life as son, father, worker, citizen, but does not forget that these are all roles, not their true essence. The true essence of a person is the soul, a particle of infinite consciousness that observes all these roles, but does not identify with them. When you understand this, life becomes light, like dance, like play, like a dream from which you can awaken at any moment. Arjuna feels something turning over in his understanding. The world remained the same, but the view of it has changed, as if he had looked at a painting from one side all his life, and now saw it from another, and it began to play with completely new colors. But the most important revelation is still ahead. Krishna prepares to tell about how to prepare the mind for perceiving the highest truth, how to learn to meditate, how to find silence within oneself, even amid the storm of external circumstances. He tells Arjuna, "Find a secluded place, not too high and not too low. Spread kusha grass there, a deer skin on top, and soft cloth over that. Sit straight, but without tension. Direct your gaze to the tip of your nose, but do not strain your eyes. Let breathing become calm and even." This is not just a sitting posture. This is a way to tune body and mind to perceive subtle truths. When the body is motionless, the mind also gradually calms. When breathing is even, thoughts stop rushing about like monkeys from branch to branch. But the most difficult thing is learning to control the mind. Krishna compares the mind to wind. It is restless, strong, stubborn. Try to stop wind with your hands, and you will not succeed. But you can learn to use its energy, as sailors use the power of wind to move sails. The mind cannot be suppressed by force. It must be gently guided, as an experienced rider guides a horse, not roughly jerking the reins, but with light touches, patiently and persistently. When the mind wanders, and it will certainly wander, do not be angry with it. Simply gently return attention to breathing, as a mother returns a playing child. Regular meditation practice changes a person from within. They become like the ocean. There may be waves on the surface, but peace always reigns in the depths. Events of the external world still touch them, but do not knock them off balance. Joy and sorrow, success and failure become like changing weather, interesting to observe, but not worth worrying about too much. Arjuna listens to these instructions and feels something changing inside him. Fear and doubts have not completely disappeared, but now they do not seem so insurmountable. A new understanding has appeared that life is much deeper and wiser than it seemed before, that every trial has its meaning, that even in the most difficult situations, one can find a path to inner peace. The sun, meanwhile, rises higher. The armies prepare for battle. But for Arjuna, these preparations no longer have their former meaning. He has understood the main thing. The true battle happens not between armies on the field, but inside every person, between light and darkness, between wisdom and ignorance, between love and fear. And in this inner battle, everyone has their own Krishna, the voice of wisdom that is always ready to suggest the right path. One only needs to learn to listen to it amid the noise of daily concerns, amid the shouts of ego, amid the bustle of desires and anxieties. Arjuna looks at his divine friend with new eyes. In this person who has been near for so many years, who shared joys and sorrows with him, who drove his chariot in countless battles, something much greater suddenly opens. Krishna begins to reveal his true nature, and this revelation is like sunrise after a long night. I am the taste in water, Krishna says quietly, and his words sound like the music of spheres. I am the light in the moon and sun. I am the sacred sound, Om, in all Vedic chants. I am ability in humans and fragrance in earth. I am life in all living beings and austerity in ascetics. These words open a completely new vision of the world. It turns out the divine is not somewhere far away, in inaccessible heavenly spheres. It is here, now, in every sip of water, in every ray of light, in every sound we make. When you drink water and feel how it quenches thirst, this is a touch of the divine. When you admire moonlight pouring through leaves, this is its manifestation. When you hear beautiful music and your heart stops with delight, this is its presence. But how to learn to see this divine in everything? Krishna explains patiently. Start small. When you eat, do not just mechanically consume food. Feel its taste. Think about the sun and rain that helped it grow, about the hands that prepared it. Give thanks for this gift. When you walk on earth, feel its firmness under your feet, its ability to support all life. When you breathe, remember that air connects you with all beings on the planet. Such an attitude to life is called bhakti, loving devotion that sees the divine in everything. This is not blind worship, not fear of a terrible deity. This is being in love with life itself, admiration for the beauty and wisdom of creation. This is the ability to wonder at simple things, as a child wonders at a butterfly or rainbow. A person living in bhakti is like a gardener who tends flowers not for profit, but simply because he loves their beauty. He waters, weeds, prunes, not demanding gratitude, not expecting reward. Service to beauty itself is the highest joy for him. Arjuna feels his heart filling with new understanding. He begins to see the approaching battle in a completely different light. This is not just a clash of armies, not just a struggle for the throne. This is a cosmic drama where everyone plays their role in restoring justice. And his role is not accidental. He is here not by mistake of fate, but as part of a great plan. But then a new question arises in his mind. What happens at the moment of death? How to prepare for this final test? And Krishna, as if reading his thoughts, begins to speak about the most mysterious topic, the transition of the soul from one world to another. What a person thinks about at the moment of death, to that they come after it. Therefore, all life is preparation for the final exam. every thought, every action, every desire leaves a trace in consciousness. And at the moment when the soul leaves the body, these accumulated impressions determine its further path. Imagine a person who thought only about money all their life. At the last moment, their mind will be occupied with calculations, deals, fear of losing what was accumulated. And the soul will carry these impressions with it, like a traveler carries baggage. In the next incarnation, it will end up where it can continue developing these qualities. Now imagine a person who lived with thoughts of service, love, search for truth. Their last thoughts will be filled with light, gratitude, striving for the beautiful, and the soul will carry this light with it, as a bee carries pollen on its feet from a flower. Therefore, wise people prepare for death all their lives, not in the sense of gloomy thoughts about the end, but in the sense of purifying consciousness from everything unnecessary, unneeded, painful. They learn to let go, forgive, love unconditionally. They fill the mind with elevated thoughts, as a gardener fills a garden with beautiful flowers. There is a simple practice for such preparation. Every evening, going to bed, remember the best that happened during the day. Perhaps it was a stranger's smile, the beauty of sunset, the taste of ripe fruit, warm words of a loved one. Fall asleep with thoughts of the good that exists in your life. This is like tuning an instrument before a concert. You tune your consciousness to perceive the beautiful. In the morning, waking up, begin the day with gratitude. Thank for waking up, for the opportunity to live another day, for the air you breathe, for the people who will be near. This is like prayer, only not verbal, but heartfelt. You tune your day to the wave of good. Krishna tells Arjuna about mantra, the sacred sound that helps purify consciousness. The simplest and most powerful mantra is the sound Om. This is the primordial sound of the universe, the vibration from which all existence arose. When you repeat it mentally or aloud, the mind gradually calms, like agitated water becomes clear when you stop stirring it. You can repeat Om while walking, working, before sleep, not as mechanical mumbling, but as a way to remember the connection with all existence. Each repetition is like returning home, like a reminder of who you really are. Arjuna listens and feels how the fear of death, which always lurked somewhere in the depths of his soul, begins to dissolve. Death stops seeming like an end, becomes a transition, like moving from one dream to another, and life becomes an opportunity to prepare for this transition in the best way. And then Krishna reveals to him the most sacred knowledge, the secret of Bhakti Yoga, the path of loving devotion. He says, "Even if you offer me only a leaf, flower, fruit, or sip of water, but with love, I will accept this offering. I am attracted not by the wealth of the gift, but by the purity of feeling." This is a revolutionary thought for that time. In ancient India, it was believed that the deity required expensive sacrifices: gold, precious stones, purebred animals. But here, it turns out that the most valuable thing is sincerity of heart. A poor person offering a simple flower with love is closer to the divine than a rich person bringing expensive gifts out of pride or self-interest. This means that spiritual life is accessible to everyone, regardless of social position, education, wealth. Everyone can become a yogi, one who is united with the divine. Only one condition is needed: sincere desire to approach truth. Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of the heart. If Karma Yoga is the path through action, and Jnana Yoga is the path through knowledge, then Bhakti Yoga is the path through love. And as Krishna says, this is the simplest and most accessible path, because to love is natural for humans. One only needs to direct this love in the right direction. Usually, we love something or someone for our own pleasure. We love ice cream because it is tasty. We love people because they make us happy. We love beautiful things because they please the eye. But there is another love, unconditional, that requires nothing in return. Like a mother loves a child simply for existing. When such love is directed toward all existence, toward life itself, toward divine presence in everything, this is bhakti. This is not emotional excitement, not sentimentality. This is a deep, calm feeling of connection with the whole world. A person in bhakti is like a river flowing to the sea. It cannot help but flow. This is its nature. So too, a heart awakened to love cannot help but pour this love on everything around. And in this outpouring, it finds the highest joy. Arjuna feels something melting in his chest. That knot of contradictions that so tormented him at the beginning of the conversation begins to untie. He understands that he can fight and love simultaneously, can fulfill the duty of a warrior and remain a compassionate person. But Krishna continues to reveal the secrets of being. He begins to enumerate his manifestations in the world, and each of them opens a new facet of divine presence. Among gods, I am Vishnu. Among luminaries, the radiant sun. Among winds, the wind Marut. Among moons, the moon. Among seas, I am the ocean. Among mountains, the Himalayas. Among trees, the sacred Ashvatha tree. These are not just poetic metaphors. This is an indication that the divine manifests through the best in each category of beings and phenomena. In each class of things, there is something most perfect, most beautiful, most harmonious. And through this perfection, absolute beauty shines through. When you see a majestic mountain peak illuminated by dawn sun, and your heart stops with delight, this is an encounter with the divine. When you hear a nightingale singing in a quiet garden, and time stops, this is its voice. When you meet a person radiating kindness and wisdom, this is its presence. This knowledge changes attitude toward the world. Life becomes a constant discovery of the divine in the most ordinary things. Each day brings new meetings with beauty, new reasons for reverence, new causes for joy. Arjuna listens to this enumeration of divine manifestations, and the world around him is transformed. The morning sun rising over the plain of Kurukshetra suddenly becomes not just a luminary, but a symbol of cosmic consciousness. The wind stirring banners turns into the breath of the universe. Even the sounds of battle preparations fill with special meaning. And then a bold desire is born in his heart. He asks Krishna to show him the cosmic form, the universal nature of divinity. He wants to see what is hidden behind the familiar human appearance of his friend. Krishna looks at him with a slight smile. Are you sure you are ready for this vision? This is not just a beautiful picture. This is an encounter with infinity. with what exceeds the possibilities of human perception. But seeing determination in Arjuna's eyes, he agrees. First, he grants Arjuna divine sight, the ability to see beyond ordinary sense organs, and then slowly begins to reveal his cosmic form. What Arjuna sees cannot be described in words of ordinary language. Imagine that you simultaneously see all stars of all galaxies, all forms of life on all planets, all times, past, present, and future. In this form are thousands of faces, thousands of hands, thousands of eyes. It shines like 1,000 suns blazing simultaneously. In it, Arjuna sees all existence, gods, demons, humans, animals, plants, minerals. Everything is in this form, and it is in everything. But the most stunning thing is that Arjuna sees time. He sees how great warriors standing before him, now in full health, are already being swallowed by the jaws of time. He sees the outcome of the approaching battle, sees that all main participants on both sides are doomed to perish. The battle has already happened in the eternal dimension. It remains only to play it out in the temporal. This vision is simultaneously beautiful and terrible. Beautiful because it shows the unity of all existence, the greatness and wisdom of cosmic order. Terrible because the human mind cannot contain such infinity, cannot understand such scale. Arjuna begins to tremble. Hair stands on end, skin breaks out in goosebumps, mouth goes dry. He sees not a merciful friend, but a cosmic force that creates and destroys worlds. Like a child builds and breaks sand castles. In this vision, there is no place for human attachments, human fears, human hopes. There is only the eternal dance of energy, the infinite play of consciousness with itself. Arjuna falls prostrate and pleads, "Enough! Return to your usual form. I cannot bear this anymore." And Krishna, full of compassion, folds the cosmic vision, returns to the familiar human appearance. Again, beside Arjuna, stands his friend, the same kind gaze, the same gentle smile, the same familiar features. This vision was necessary, Krishna explains. You wanted to see my true nature. Now you have seen it. But remember, this cosmic form is no more true than the human one. The divine is equally present in the infinity of cosmos, and in a friend's smile, and in the touch of a loving hand. Arjuna understands. The greatest revelation is not in seeing God as a cosmic force. The greatest revelation is in recognizing Him in simple human relationships, in friendship, in love, in compassion, that Krishna, who sits beside him in the chariot, is no less divine than the one who governs the movement of galaxies. After this stunning vision, Arjuna feels a need for something closer, warmer, more human. And Krishna, as if guessing his state, begins to speak about the qualities of a true devotee, about what a person walking the path of love for the divine should be like. One who hates no one, who is friendly and compassionate to all living beings, who is free from attachment to possessions and false ego, who equally bears happiness and suffering, who is patient. Such a devotee is very dear to me. These words sound like a lullaby after a storm. There is nothing supernatural in them, no mystical abilities or special knowledge, only simple human qualities that make life brighter, both for the person themselves and for those around them. Not to hate anyone does not mean becoming spineless or allowing others to cause harm. It means understanding that behind every action, even the cruelest, stands a suffering soul. A person causes evil, not from excess of happiness, but from lack of love. When you see this, it is hard to hate. You can condemn the action. You can defend yourself. You can even fight, but not with hatred, but with understanding of necessity. To be friendly and compassionate is like being a gardener who equally carefully tends all plants in the garden. He understands that a rose needs one thing, and a cactus needs something completely different. But attention and care are the same. So too, a wise person approaches different people differently, but their heart is open to all. Freedom from attachment to possessions is understanding that we come into this world with empty hands and leave with empty hands. Everything that seems ours between these moments is actually temporarily given for use. Like an actor puts on a costume for a role, but knows that after the performance, it must be removed. This does not mean rejecting all things. You can use a house, clothes, food, but remember that they are not yours forever. Such an attitude frees from fear of loss, from greed, from envy. You can enjoy beautiful things without clinging to them, as you can admire a sunset without trying to possess it. Freedom from false ego is perhaps the most difficult. Ego is the idea of oneself as the center of the universe, as the most important person in one's life drama. False ego says, "I am the smartest, I deserve more, I am not like everyone else, I am undervalued." It constantly compares, competes, seeks confirmation of its exclusivity. Liberation from false ego does not mean belittling oneself or rejecting self-respect. It means seeing oneself as part of a larger whole, understanding that your value is not in superiority over others, but in the unique contribution that only you can make to the common symphony of life. Equal attitude to happiness and suffering is the wisdom of the ocean, which equally accepts sunlight, rain, and storm winds. All this is just phenomena on its surface, not affecting the depths. So too, a wise person experiences joys and sorrows, but does not completely identify with them. This is not insensitivity. Feelings remain, but they do not control behavior. You can grieve over loss, but not fall into despair. You can rejoice in success, but not lose your head from pride. Emotions become like weather, interesting to observe, but not worth planning your whole life around them. Patience is the quality of earth, which does not rebel when walked upon, does not take offense when dug, does not anger when polluted. It simply continues to give life to everything that grows on it. Human patience is understanding that everything happens in its time, that you cannot force a flower to bloom before its season, that wisdom comes through experience, and experience requires time. Arjuna listens to these simple but deep truths and feels how they resonate in his heart. He understands that the path to the divine does not require special supernatural abilities. It is accessible to everyone who is ready to work on themselves, who is ready gradually, day by day, to cultivate these beautiful qualities in themselves. But then Krishna moves to a deeper topic, distinguishing between the field and the knower of the field, between body and soul, between temporary and eternal. He explains, the body is the field of activity, and the soul is the knower of this field. As a farmer knows his field, where what grows, what needs watering, what needs pruning, so too a wise person knows their body-mind, observes its needs, but does not identify with it. The body constantly changes. Cells are born and die. Thoughts come and go. Emotions roll in waves and recede. But the one who observes all these changes remains unchanged. This is the true self. Not the body, not the mind, not a set of roles and habits, but pure consciousness, the ability to be aware. Try a simple exercise, Krishna suggests. Sit quietly and observe your thoughts. Do not try to stop or direct them. Simply watch how they arise and disappear. And notice, the one who observes thoughts is not himself a thought. The one who sees emotions is not himself an emotion. This discovery can be the first step toward understanding your true nature. When a person begins to distinguish between the observer and the observed, their attitude toward life radically changes. They stop completely identifying with their problems, fears, desires. These remain, but become like a film they are watching. Interesting, captivating, but no more than that. Further, Krishna tells about 3 fundamental qualities of material nature that color all life in this world. These are like 3 primary colors from which all other shades can be composed. The first quality is sattva, clarity, harmony, knowledge. The second is rajas, passion, activity, desire. The third is tamas, ignorance, inertia, darkness. All 3 qualities are present in every person, but in different proportions. When sattva predominates, a person is calm, wise, striving for knowledge and harmony. When rajas predominates, they are active, ambitious, full of desires and plans. When tamas predominates, they are lazy, ignorant, inclined toward destruction. Understanding these qualities helps to better understand oneself and others. In the morning, when the mind is fresh and clear, it is easier to make wise decisions. This is the time of sattva. During the day, when activity boils, one wants to act and achieve. This is the time of rajas. In the evening, when energy is exhausted, gloom or laziness may come. This is the time of tamas. A wise person learns to use each quality at the right time and in the right place. Sattva for reflection and decision-making. Rajas for active work. Even tamas has its use. It helps to stop, rest, restore strength. But the goal of spiritual development is to rise above all three qualities, to become their observer, not their victim. As the sky remains pure, regardless of what clouds float across it, so too the soul can remain free, regardless of what qualities predominate at the moment. There are signs by which you can identify a person who has risen above the three qualities of nature. They do not become disturbed when these qualities are active, and do not long for them when they are inactive. They remain like an impartial witness, understanding that all changes occur in nature, while they themselves are beyond these changes. Such a person relates equally to stone, gold, and a lump of earth. They equally meet the desirable and undesirable. They are not disturbed by praise or blame. They relate equally to honor and dishonor, to friends and enemies. They have renounced all material undertakings, and such a person is considered to have risen above the qualities of material nature. Arjuna listens and understands that this is not a description of an indifferent person. This is a portrait of one who has attained true freedom. Freedom from compulsion by external circumstances. Freedom to be oneself under any conditions. And then Krishna tells about the highest vision of reality. He compares this world to a huge tree whose roots grow upward in the spiritual dimension and whose branches descend downward into the material world. The leaves of this tree are the sacred scriptures, and one who knows this tree knows true wisdom. This tree must be cut down with the sharp axe of non-attachment. Only thus can one reach that place from which, having come, one never returns to the cycle of birth and death. This place is the original abode of the Supreme Personality, who illuminates the sun, moon, and fire, but is not illuminated by them. In these words is an indication of the ultimate goal of all spiritual seeking. Not just improvement of character, not just inner peace, but complete liberation from the limitations of material existence. Return to the original state of pure consciousness, where there is no suffering, no fears, no division between I and you. But how to distinguish those who move toward this goal from those who move away from it? Krishna explains the difference between divine and demonic qualities in humans. Divine qualities are fearlessness, purity of consciousness, steadfastness in spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, sacrifice, study of scriptures, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, absence of anger, gentleness, modesty, determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, absence of envy and pride. Demonic qualities are pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. People with demonic qualities think the world was created for their enjoyment. That might is right, that the end justifies the means. These qualities are present in every person to varying degrees. Spiritual development is the gradual cultivation of divine qualities and overcoming of demonic ones. This is like gardening. You need to water good plants and weed out the weeds. It is important to understand that this work on oneself never ends. Each day gives new opportunities to show patience instead of anger, generosity instead of greed, truthfulness instead of lies. Every choice is a step either toward light or toward darkness. Krishna also speaks of 3 types of faith that determine a person's entire life. Faith in sattva is directed toward worship of gods, charity to the needy, study of wisdom. Faith in rajas is toward worship of spirits and demons, showy rituals, charity for fame. Faith in tamas is toward worship of ghosts and spirits of the dead, cruel rites, superstitions. By faith, you can determine a person's nature, what a person believes in, that they worship, and what they worship determines their destiny. Therefore, it is so important to be attentive to what we consider sacred, what evokes our reverence and admiration. Finally, approaching the end of the conversation, Krishna summarizes everything said. He speaks of the highest secret of all religions. Abandon all varieties of religion and simply surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This is not a call to fanaticism or blind faith. This is a call to complete trust in life, to acceptance of the fact that there is a force greater than our small ego that leads us along the path of consciousness evolution. When we stop fighting with life and begin to cooperate with it, everything becomes much simpler and more joyful. To surrender does not mean becoming passive. It means acting with all one's strength, but not considering oneself the sole creator of results. This is like dance. You dance with full force, but you do not create the music to which you dance. Arjuna listens to these concluding words and feels how all doubts finally clear. He has understood the main thing. Life is not a struggle for survival, but an opportunity to serve, love, grow. The approaching battle is not a tragedy, but sacred duty. And by fulfilling it with correct understanding, he will not accumulate karmic consequences, but will approach liberation. The sun has already risen high. The armies are ready for battle. But for Arjuna, the world has changed forever. He takes his bow, Gandiva, draws the string, and says, "My illusion is dispelled. I have regained memory by your grace. Now I am fixed. My doubts are gone. I will act according to your word." And the battle begins. But this is no longer just a clash of armies. This is a mystery in which each participant plays their role in the great performance of life. And one who has understood this has already won, regardless of the battle's outcome.